Lauren, welcome to Lauren Learns Things.
Thank you. What an intro you have. That is intense.
I love a good theme song. It's like deeply brings me joy. And each of our shows has a new theme song, and I've just been like spending way too much time on that part of my job recently.
Awesome. It's the little things. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Lorna, welcome to the chat. Lorna is on our DevRel team, and she says that she wants to enjoy this Laura party that we have. And we always joke that it's like awesome that on this team we have a Laura problem, because that's a good thing. It means there's a lot of women on the team.
Good, law of alliteration. I like it.
We totally do. What's up, everyone? Welcome, Greg, Noreen, Laura, of course. Let's see, Kevin. Kevin and I were just in a meeting together. Hello, welcome. Papa Smurf of Death, what's going on? Anyway, y'all, welcome to the stream. This is my new time slots, Thursdays. Move some things around, no longer on Tuesday. Wait, I'm no longer Tuesday. Today is Thursday. What is time? Today is time.
Days are irrelevant now.
Days are irrelevant. Daniela, welcome to the chat. I'm so happy to have you here. The gang is all here. Okay, so let me just do a brief intro of what we're doing today, what I'm learning about. I'm learning about my colleague, Lauren. This is, he also has a pup. Welcome, pup, to the stream. New stream time, who dis? That's right. Yes, there is no new stream who dis later on this afternoon, by the way. So just some stream programming updates. So let's see. We are chatting today. Lauren is our product manager for the Messages API, and I thought that it would be really fun to bring you on as the expert of all things product messages, kind of the world of, I suppose, product, but then also just life at Vonage and whatnot. I think there's we've played with the Messages API a ton on this stream, and so why not bring on someone who knows it very, very well also. Yes, Cuba can't. Is your pup named Cuba?
Cuba, yes. He has seen someone walking outside the house, and he's distressed by this, so he barks endlessly. He's become very antisocial during lockdown.
Oh, I get that, because there's like, you don't see other people, and so now it's like, that just a stranger. I don't understand. I can relate. I feel that way also. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes. Michael, that's a good call. We could be this show could be product Vonage and whatnot. I like it. I mean, that was me just filling a sentence when I couldn't I couldn't think of another word. So perfect. Glad it's well branded. So okay, let's see. Lauren, take me from the beginning. Like, bring me back to days of school. Did you study the art of product and messages when you were a mere tot in school?
No, and I'm so old that like iPhones and messaging and social media wasn't a thing when I was at school.
So it was MSN, a glimmer in your eye.
Yeah, so it wasn't even a thing that you could study. So it's very much, do you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, or, something in politics or economics, or, do you want to work for a hedge fund? It wasn't really, do you want to work in, pretty much, yeah, like, do you want to work in product? What is a product? What is an app? It didn't really exist.
Sure. Did you want to be a doctor or a lawyer, as you say, or what did you pursue?
What I actually wanted was to be an actor playing either a doctor or a lawyer, as sort of the best of all worlds, really.
Why not both?
Yeah, I think because I really liked ER and Ally McBeal. That was kind of where I got that inspiration from. But it turned out that being an actor wasn't really a career path that was going to work out for me. So I studied English instead at university.
Cool.
So it was a toss-up between studying maths or English. And I don't know why I picked English. I think because I thought it would be a bit easier, but actually it was very hard.
Take me back to, where did you grow up?
London.
Okay, cool. And so studied English. We're like, was it the Bard and only the Bard? I'm a prior English teacher before I learned to code.
Cool.
So you're speaking my language-ish. But I like didn't actually even study English in school. I just like kind of fell into my place of what I ended up teaching, but very cool.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think the course that I did was quite traditional. So we did a lot of like old English, Middle English, Shakespeare.
Got it.
I think the newest book we studied was about late Victorian period. So it was a very tough course. And you basically just learn to read a lot of information at a short time, a ridiculously short period of time, and then spit it out into something intelligent and analyze sources of information. That's kind of what it taught me, pretty much.
Honestly, that's kind of a cool skill though, and very transferable now, just to like speed read and consume a ton of content and kind of then be an expert on something. So I could see how that would translate.
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite dyslexic, so my reading speed's actually pretty crap.
Me too. I mean, not something to get excited about. I did not learn to read until the 4th grade, which is really late. But yeah, I can relate to that also.
I'm very much an audiobook person.
Me too. I love audiobooks and a podcast or anything in that audio fashion. I'm like recently realized that I rarely am ever in silence anymore though, because I always have an audiobook playing in the background, which is like maybe something I should bring to a therapist, not really here, but you know, here we are.
I'm the same. I don't really want to be listening to myself think.
Aaron asked in the chat, oh, Abdul, welcome to the chat. Hello. What grades are, so 4th grade. Yeah, no, it's super late. I learned to read really late. Let's just say that. I got into the art of like memorizing stories. So if it was a read aloud, I would just have memorized the night before the version of it. And so the only way I eventually was caught was in the book, it got sticky. And so flipped the pages and was still reading what was supposed to be on the page, but didn't match up anymore to the deer in the creek story. And everyone, I got caught. And then suddenly it was time to do some intervention.
Wow.
Yeah, sharing. Also a fun fact, I then had to skip my pull-out classes in which I went to like special ed. I missed DARE, which I don't know if they had that in the UK. The curriculum about not doing DARE was like how to get kids to just say no to drugs, which was like the fun
no, we
class.
Didn't have that.
Oh yeah, well, turns out all they taught us was that you say no. That was like the bulk of it, but it was really fun class I was like bummed to not go to it. And I mean,
that sucks.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Lorna. Thank you for doing that translation. 8 years old. Yeah, it was pretty late. Anyway, and then like I remember being really stressed out about not going to the DARE curriculum, and my mom was like, "Lauren, literally, you just say no." I was like very afraid I was going to get addicted to all the drugs because I missed.
That probably put you in a good place with your future.
I mean, sure. Anyway, I'm not totally sure how we got here. You had it. Oh, you did have. So your curriculum was just called something different. PSHE. She doesn't have a nice ring to it.
Yeah, we didn't have that. We didn't have that at my school.
Oh, okay, got it. Yeah. Well, personal, social health, and economic education. Oh, okay. Well, that sounds like an all-encompassing curriculum, which could be really helpful. Also, we just chat through this one. Also called, oh yeah, I got it. I like just hang out. Yeah, I love it. Okay, so then let's see. So you studied English. Back to the programming. You were in school for that, then thought you were going to be an actor, decided to dive into the techs of antiquated literature, and then what happened after that? Were we like, okay, I now see that I can translate this to Vonage world, or?
No, unfortunately not. I guess the things I enjoyed at school were making things, so I guess art, stories, that kind of stuff, and problem solving, which university had some of that. But university in England, and it's as in the same in the States, it's incredibly expensive. So I signed up to the military to sponsor me through university. So I joined the Air Force. So half of my time was spent studying, half was spent training.
Really?
And it's a rare route. And most of the people that are doing it are studying like physics or engineering or other more relevant subjects, not sort of quoting poetry. But,
to be flying planes and then like while fueling up, like, oh, I've got an idea for a haiku. Sure. I mean, I love it. It's a way to hack the system and get that funding. That's really smart.
I lacked a lot of the sort of key knowledge of like gravity and like other systems of airflow and such, but I did have a knack for it generally. But
cool.
After that actually came from my love of Star Wars, another acting related film nugget there.
That.
So big Han Solo fan. So that's kind of why I wanted to join. I just wanted to be able to fly. I didn't really have the desire to do reconnaissance or killing. So that happened. And then
okay.
at the end of uni, there's I was offered a Rhodes scholarship.
Cool.
And so I either had to take that or leave the Air Force. And I figured that would probably give me a little bit more push in the right direction career-wise, rather than sort of death and murder on a mass scale.
Because then you would have had to commit to a longer period in the Air Force. Is that how that works?
Yeah, so it was at the point of my contract where I had to either sign up for things like 15 years. And,
a tipping point.
Yeah.
Wow, what a different life that would have been. And also, briefly interrupting, Michael Heap, who is on paternity leave, welcome to the chat. So happy to have you here. Woohoo! Yay.
I hope fatherhood is treating you well.
Ditto. That is so fun. Okay, cool. So like a very big moment in life was deciding between this Rhodes Scholarship, incredibly impressive, by the way, versus pursuing this career in the military. So what then happened on that scholarship journey?
So I ended up moving to Vancouver, and I did a course that the scholarship fund did not approve of at all. So it was a little bit of a fuck you to it was a little bit bad. But they let me get away with it because it was a shorter course. So I wanted to do like a PhD in Shakespeare stuff, but I didn't get offered a place. And I found this other course that was like a film writing course, which just looked so fun, and just the complete opposite of military and Oxford life, where everything's just incredibly hard. So I just thought, screw it, let's do that. So I did that, and then I think that's kind of what put me on the sort of the production career path. So getting involved with production companies in the UK when I moved back home. We predominantly worked with Formula One and sports and sort of car commercials. So it was very kind of similar to the military, actually. But I really like Formula One as a sport, so it was really fun to work with the teams and film them racing.
Yeah. So then you got into essentially production when it comes to like putting on the film event or whatever it is that you're kind of tracking in that regard. Then so you then dabbled in indie games.
Yes, I think.
Right? Like what's this? How do I, and y'all, I'm just like, you were watching me try to put together the map of it, but I mean, this is like condensing a life into a very bite-sized moment. So my apologies for the brevity of it, but.
I think in London anyway, in sort of like commercials and production, it's obviously very client heavy. And I don't know if you've ever seen those memes where you have like the client feedback on like ad campaigns. it's just horrendous. It's just relentless work.
Sure.
And some real horror stories on set with clients. And the guy who started the production company, he and I were sort of talking about writing a book one day.
Cool.
And the idea was this book about what would happen if there was no more electricity, just because of how dependent we are on the internet and phones and everything like that.
Sure.
And so we had this idea about writing this book as a kind of like side project that we would do when things quieted down. But obviously they never did. And then we had the idea of making it into an app, and we just really loved the idea of making a product where there's no client, like except for us, so we can really make something that we're really proud of and to sell it, rather than selling a service where you then have to sort of bend to every whim of the client, and often the thing that you create at the end isn't necessarily kind of what you had in mind. There's a lot of compromises working in commercial production, so the idea was let's just make something.
Create for the sake of creating,
Exactly. So
That's
we
cool.
have to sort of learn how to do that, really. So we basically wrote this interactive sort of what's the word? Apocalyptic game about what would happen if there was no more electricity. So you sort of move around London playing as these different characters, and you have to sort of complete different sort of missions to be able to survive. And it did really well. It was Game of the Day on the App Store. Released it on a couple of different platforms.
That's really cool.
And then,
did you know much about game development when you took that on, or were you most interested in the art of the narrative piece of that storytelling version of it, and then like kind of outsourced the other?
No. So I mean, the idea was that we would make it ourselves, so that there was no hard cost. We ended up outsourcing some artwork of the character design, because it's just too hard to do. But
gorgeous that you have for it, though.
Thank you. So it's by this guy. I'll send you his Instagram, but he does a lot of the artwork for Lucasfilms. So he just has such a cool.
There you go.
I know, right?
Full circle.
It all links up.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so I had to learn to use Unity, which was really fun. Sort of the game engine that we built it in.
Yeah.
I think we wrote by the end of it about 7 million words.
That's so cool.
But not all of them made it into the final version. There's a lot of typos, obviously, but it's like an insane amount of words to write. And then I think once we'd done that, we made some money. Wasn't enough to sort of continue life on. And then I just kind of got a taste for sort of product and making things from a technical point of view. And that's kind of where the product stuff started from there, really.
That's so interesting. So essentially then you, is that when you transitioned to Vonage? Because right now you work on the production side of things in the world of this like API. That's the product, the messages API. How are you able to translate those? Oh, okay. There's something in between.
Yeah, my LinkedIn is terribly out of date. So I worked at The Mill, which is a visual effects company.
Cool.
And they were developing a piece of hardware and software, which was to, how do I explain this? Basically, if you're a car manufacturer and you're designing a car, you do sort of clay modeling and foam modeling, and it's a very expensive process. So from McLaren, it's about 80 grand to create one of these foam cutouts, and they paint it as if it was real so they can see how it would look in real life rather than just a CAD model. But it's an incredibly expensive process. So what we were trying to design is this sort of an AR tool where you could visualize a car full size in a studio space, and it would react to light in real time.
Whoa.
So you'd be able to sort of see it, and you could change the colors and configure it in different ways, but you'd be able to see it live on like a tablet or AR device. So we were trying to build this, a piece of hardware and a piece of software to do this AR technology. Yeah, it was mad.
Cars have really followed you throughout your career as well.
I like cars. Yeah, I'm glad about that.
That's so interesting.
So that was kind of, as we were sort of building prototypes for that and different bits of tech to get that to work. They had another product as well called the Blackbird, where you would essentially it's like a skeleton car when you're filming a commercial, rather than needing the car that is in the advert, because sometimes you don't want to drive it around on the streets because people will see it before it's released. You drive this sort of fake skeleton car around, and then in post-production, but it captures all the light and stuff, so you know how to sort of handle it in CG. So they had that product as well, so I worked on those things.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, it's really fun. And then after that, I worked on a different product, which was for pets, which is just when I got Cuba, actually. So it was for like a bit like a Fitbit, but for pets.
Oh, sure. I've seen those products that kind of track.
Yeah, exercise and health and temperature and all that kind of stuff. And it had an app, and then it had a website and an insurance product. So I worked on that for a bit. That was really fun.
Were you like, I guess I need to get a pet so that then I can test my product while at home?
Well, I think I had Cuba, and then I was like, how is there not a single app for dog training that is good? Like, how has no one made this yet? It didn't make any sense. And then this job came up, and I was like, awesome, I can try and solve this problem.
Right, exactly.
And then it was after that that I joined Vonage.
Got it. And so then what was curious for you in the world of messaging to like say yes to the dress that is messages?
I think it was just like the volume of it and the reach of it. So I think working on something that impacts so many people and has so much so much data behind it in terms of how many people actually use it. We send, millions and millions of messages a day on that service, and I'd never worked on anything that was that big. I'd worked on a lot of startups, a lot of prototypes, and obviously my own experiments. So working on something that has that scale is like a whole different scale of project.
What's the difference? Like, do you notice kind of now that on something much larger, are you using any of those like kind of from the startup small version skills today in the messaging place?
I'm trying to. Like, Vonage has a lot of process and dependencies, and I started in April, so I started remotely. I know a lot of your team works remotely.
Yes, we do.
Sort of,
but not everyone. But
there's something about, if you have a team of people in a room and maybe it's late and you're trying to solve a problem and you can just like scribble it out and get it sorted. It takes sort of 4 times as long because you have to sort of get this person to agree to this thing and this thing to agree to that thing. But I guess the transferable skill is just sort of perseverance, probably.
Sure. And the grit it takes to just be like, I need to see this through, or I want to, there's been a ton of like feature development and change within this particular product itself. Also, like messages, when I started was very much in beta. How cool that you joined in April. Wow. So there's been, that's neat. That's awesome. So take me then to, you were in production of like commercials, etc. I guess when I was looking at your LinkedIn, it seemed like a lot of stuff was also in marketing. But maybe that was just like the title piece of it, or?
Yeah, honestly, I don't ever look at my LinkedIn. I think like there's some jobs when I was like in my 20s that were marketing based that were probably the first things I added because.
Oh yeah, a marketing executive on one of them at Capture.
Oh yeah, that was a job like literally when I left school before I went to uni. That was like, in supermarkets where they have things that like buy biscuits, buy this biscuit 2 for 1, whatever kind of like offers. You just kind of design those campaigns to make people buy more stuff they don't need. It wasn't very nice.
Sure. The world of consumers. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think okay, that's interesting. So
I guess one thing I will say is like Vonage, unlike other product companies that are pure product, like we obviously have a lot of clients. We're kind of more of a service kind of company than like, here is a product, just use it, and then you're that's it, they go. We have a lot of like service led products, and we're very much, we try to nurture client relationships. So a lot of that stuff from kind of marketing and advertising, where you have to very much love your clients and your customers.
But you hated that part. Here. Is that like tough for you now? Yeah, I mean, like that's hard. I mean,
I think it's different because it's when it's creative, there's a lot more subjectivity. When it's like, this product doesn't work or this feature doesn't work, it's like, fair enough, we'll fix it. Or this is the problem, how do we solve it? If it's like, can you make that penguin look a bit happier?
Right, like, ooh, I just don't love her hair color. Yeah, something like that's so frustrating.
Yeah.
There is something really fascinating about like user testing when it comes to our product, stuff like that. Like, did this help solve a problem for you? Or like, did the flow of it work the way that you would have expected it to? That stuff is such valuable feedback that like, it's not, there is such a difference between those two things.
Yeah, I think that's something that I want to try and do more of. I don't know sort of how it works at Vonage currently, but obviously we have a whole team of people, sort of solution engineers, who I think obviously talk to customers and really understand what it is that they want. And then that doesn't necessarily get into the product team. It maybe goes across to sales, and then we might hear about it sort of offhand, but that loop doesn't really exist yet. And I think once if I can make that work a bit better, at least for the Measures API, we could get some really useful feedback.
Definitely.
And maybe make more customer-driven sort of problem-solving decisions rather than sales-led. This customer needs this because we don't know why.
Yeah, you're kind of inventing in a vacuum then. Do you see, I think it's so interesting because if you start back from your like schooling to then, to product or to production, and then even like the gaming world, it's all about storytelling. Do you get to kind of fulfill that or scratch that itch of storytelling while working on the Messages API?
I mean, no, but that being said, I think because of the way the company's set up, communication is like the number one thing. So like communicating what it is that you're doing, sometimes a technical thing to a non-technical audience, a customer thing to a finance audience, or so many different audiences that you have to speak to about the same thing. Nathan will probably back me up on this. I don't know if he's watching, but the comms processes we have are they're like intense. There's like so many different channels you have to like communicate on. And so I think being able to tell the story of why you're doing a feature and what the benefits are is really important. And I think some of that is lacking, I think, across the company, just because I think we've been so engineering heavy maybe previously. That's just my assumption. So like things are very technically documented, but not often very like customer friendly maybe.
So the art of like adding in the narrative is an interesting piece, I think, like, and helping tell that story that like, why does this exist, or why is it important? Something like that. That's fair. I guess I'm wondering, like, do you feel that those prior roles that you've held kind of help you today in your role now?
Yeah, definitely. I think, whatever job you're doing, and I guess having had lots of different jobs in different industries, it's all like talking to people, understanding problems, time management, prioritization, and being able to make sort of quick but informed decisions and not being flustered. So I think, like on the first day of flying training, just to check like how weak you are, they take you up and then they open up the cockpit so that you just open air, and they tilt you to the side so you're at sort of 90 degrees. And they just sort of they just hang there for a bit and just like see if you throw up, or like ask if you're scared or if you want to come down and stuff. So,
and to which you say yes, of course, like, or they just want to see if how rattled you can get, essentially.
Yeah, they want to see if like you scream or if you cry. Yeah, it's intense. But I love that stuff. Like I like doing all the aerobatics and all the scary stuff.
Wow.
But not good at things like navigating or listening to instructions.
Got it.
So.
Well, we all have our skills. Well, that's, I mean, of course that, like, you can't fluster easily, it sounds like, and that's obviously a skill.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays I fluster a little bit more easily, but usually about like existential crisis.
Internal crises beyond, flying sideways in an airplane.
Yeah, exactly. I think, like just being under stress from external clients and deadlines and all that kind of stuff. It's just knowing how to deal with problems wherever they may be. I think that's the main transferable skill in life.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And
what do you find? And in product, what do you find interesting about working on that Messages API?
It's a funny one actually, because it's a product in itself which has a value, which is many things depending on your point of view, but essentially you have access to these different messaging channels in an easy format. But as a product, we're basically completely dependent on WhatsApp, Facebook, Viber, the SMS product as well. Mm-hmm. So we kind of have no control over whether those things are stable or what features they add, what features they don't add, what they support. So like trying to find the value in the API that isn't related to those things, but still incorporates those things, is a real struggle. And lots of people think that the future of the Messages API is just add as many channels as possible.
I was going to ask you that. Can you give us a preview or kind of a sneak peek of what's that foreseeable future? Like, what is it? 2021, is it adding, Telegram and all the other kind of chatting platforms to it, or is that what's exciting for you?
I would love to add Telegram because it's a channel that I really like and it's free, and I think it's got lots of really interesting use cases in education. It's seen a huge spike during COVID anyway, because of it's got like file sharing or things like that teachers have used, and you can do like quizzes and things like that.
Cool.
So I really like the idea of adding that. Yeah. But if you look at the actual data of the Messages API, it's 99.9% WhatsApp and a tiny bit the other channels. And the amount of time we spend just maintaining WhatsApp because of the different updates that they have all the time, and the amount of time we have to spend making sure that Viber and Facebook do the same things that WhatsApp can do.
So matching that function or the features.
Yeah, you want to have some kind of feature parity across all channels. Sure. Otherwise, it's just, what's the point of having this kind of access to all channels if they're not supported the same? So every time you add a new channel, it's exponentially getting harder to support, harder to document, harder to price. When actually,
Heather, I just dropped my pen. Heather just asked, what about things like Signal?
Yeah, I mean, Signal's on the list. It's just there isn't a huge demand from sales as of yet. But I think, and one of the things I'm working at the moment with Louise, who's our propositions manager, is just trying to find this sort of value that if WhatsApp suddenly shut down and no longer became, the huge channel is now.
Right.
You don't want to think, the Messages API will just end and it has no value after that. It needs to have value outside of the channels, but also with them at the same time, just so we're not completely dependent on them. So that's kind of the tough balance that we're trying to work out. But Instagram is probably, I think, the most valuable next channel. We should get access to that early next year. It should be a simple integration because it has the same principles as Facebook.
Right. Genitals, thanks for the follow. Appreciate you. Hello, welcome to the chat. That's exciting. We are super close to 500 followers. Ooh, if you're watching right now and you haven't followed us, give us it. That would be so fun. I would love to hit 500 at this moment. Heather, thank you. Did that do it? Did it push us over?
Thanks, Heather.
I can't see if it did or not on my counter, but I saw that Heather did. Yes, Ozzy Rod, welcome to the chat also. Okay, cool. I think we did. I think that did it for us, Heather. Thank you. You're the bomb. That's cool. That would be really fun to get Instagram added to it as well. What about, let's zoom out for folks. If they're interested in breaking into the world of product or tech in the product space, what's advice that you could share with them, or kind of learning kind of along the way that you've had?
What advice would I share? I guess it depends whether you're already on the sort of career path of that or not. But I guess if you're like me and you didn't have any prior experience,
right,
don't like spend all of your money trying to make a game. Probably don't do that. Maybe no. Maybe get a life. No, I think doing any sort of, there's loads of free resources, like free code camp and things like that, where you can learn the basics of different languages, which I think puts you in a strong position when you're dealing with developers in any products. I think that's super helpful. Just get an understanding of what you're dealing with.
The more technical you can be as a product manager, I think will always behoove you just to speak the language of both on your engineering team, right? And then translate that back to marketing or design, whoever it is that you're then working with and layered.
Totally. I mean, if you want to do the sort of agile route, the Scrum Alliance product owner and product manager courses are really good. And I think if you've never sort of worked in a product environment, you might not be familiar with some of those things like stand up and sprint planning and working with epics and stuff. It could be a completely different way of working.
Language. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And it's a really helpful way of working wherever you work, actually. We used to do stand up and sprint planning in production because I just liked that kind of shit. So it's super helpful. Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, you don't have to pay for the course. You can always just read about it online. And I think learning about data and what's the word? Just an analysis, like how you take a data set and draw sort of conclusions from it on user behavior. So it might be, knowing things like what's a daily active user, what's a monthly active user, what's lifetime value, what's conversion rates, all that kind of stuff that product people have to talk about. That's super helpful. I think most job ads, when you look at product roles, they either want you to be basically like a product owner, a product manager, a scrum master, and some kind of analyst, and maybe a designer all at once.
Wear all of those hats. That's a lot.
Yeah, and I think a lot of companies I've seen do sort of are interested in people that have startup experience. I think it just shows a certain tenacity and determination to sort of work very hard. And people often compare a product manager to being a sort of mini CEO. So I think if you've worked in that kind of environment where you've had to pull a lot of people together to get something done in a particular budget or time frame, I think that also really helps potential employers sort of see your value.
Sure. I mean, that's like the art of persuasion, or just like, teasing it all together and putting it back into a narrative too. Like that's huge in itself.
Totally.
Michael, so you're telling me that guessing what your customers think isn't the way to do it. Mind blowing.
Yeah. I mean, I think, being data driven is like super, what's the word? Like fashionable to say, like, oh, we're a data driven company.
It's a buzzword. It's timely. Yeah. Like, oh, let's see what the metrics have to say.
There's a bit of metrics and there's a bit of sort of common sense and not being like completely led by them. So you have a bit of an opinion. But
yeah, absolutely. No, I think that those are really good resources to share, and just like advice in the sense of for folks that are wanting to dip their toes into the water, make that transition possibly. It seems like it's really interesting work and something that kind of pulls together all these different areas of expertise that you bring to the table and allow you to flex different muscles and also wear a lot of different hats, which I think is, kind of what we all just are kind of craving sometimes, just to be creative in different regards. Do you still work on your game at all?
I haven't in a while. Pardon?
Oh, I said it, or is that behind you?
I thought you said what's behind you. I was like, it's like, I don't know. I mean, it's still live and occasionally do updates, but I wanted to add new levels to it, but it would require me to have like a substantial period of time off to do it. But I do miss doing all the shows, like can't remember the names now, but all the road shows, like
like the conventions to promote them?
That's it. Yeah, like con season. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I mean, and has all of that kind of gone online because of COVID?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I haven't sort of checked in with some of my previous sort of game developer buddies, but yeah, I suspect that's been a real challenge for them over the summer.
Yeah, no, of course. That's tough. Interesting. Well, those of you, if you're in the chat, if you have any questions, want to open it up to you all as well. But yeah, Lauren, I really appreciate you just kind of sharing your time with me today, just to A, learn about your background, but also B, to like understand what it's like at Vonage to be on the product side of things. We spend a lot of time in this show and on this channel kind of building and playing with the APIs, that it's kind of fun to hear from the side of like, you know, what's happening next in the feature world or what's on the roadmap, and what are the problems that you're working to solve. It's really, really compelling to see kind of the full circle of it, I think.
Cool. Well, yeah, I'm very happy to answer any questions as long as it's not.
What are the benefits for product managers working in a company with a DevRel team?
As you know, Michael, I'm a huge fan of the PDX team and of you and Steve. No, I think it's great. Like it's a different. On the one hand, I guess it's a different set of people that you have to get to agree to what you're doing. So I think, you know, for some people it's like just another hurdle, but I think the way I see it is that it's like a group of people who are experts in APIs, who have the time to look over things and see it from a customer perspective, which sales can't do. Like we can't show sales our API design and say, do you think the customer will like this? That's not a thing.
No.
And I'm kind of like, I don't know, it looks nice to me. And the engineering team are so busy trying to get everything done, they don't have time to take a step back and think about whether it's sort of beautiful, you know?
Yeah, you're able to like merge it all together then. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's a different perspective that I think is needed. And I've learned so much from that team.
Yeah, I mean, I love my team. It's the DevRel side of things, it's about like having a pulse on the developer community, but also internally. So going back to Michael, then kind of threw it back to me on the other side of things, it allows us to have insight on the roadmap and to give our, feedback, or wow, our community is really frustrated or loving this. And it kind of being the go-between feels really powerful, and that there's actually action, a part of it, versus screaming into a vacuum that I think can happen sometimes also.
I mean, the next couple of features that are coming out on the Messages API are all about self-service, kind of long-tail customer support. So I think hopefully you'll see a bit more feedback from the community once that's out.
Love that. That's awesome. That's really cool and powerful. Amazing. Oh, it is now just like I stare outside. Normally, I sometimes show everyone what I can see on my view. It's normally a gorgeous Miami day, but right now it's just the storm has like fallen into. We were in the middle of a hurricane just recently, but I thought it passed, but maybe it's back. So I need to check the weather because it's got spooky outside real quick. But anyway, Lauren, thank you so much for joining me today, and I'm hoping to do more of this on this show and feature folks from your team, but also beyond, and kind of get highlights and showcase all these people that are working on our awesome products and APIs, because there's just so much interesting conversations to be had. So thanks for being my guinea pig on this. I really appreciate you.
No problem. You should get Sarah.
Okay.
She's the PMM for Messages API, and she's in Miami as well. So.
That's a good shout. Then we could go full circle on it. We could then get Steve, who is our DevRel. Oh my gosh, that could be interesting. We go like all the versions of the message, who works on it together, and then kind of spike it together in a way.
I thought you said all the virgins then. I was like, what are you talking about?
Oh, yeah. Versions. I don't know if you realize that user that I had to block earlier was a Jenna Tolles. It's a bad word, and I just said it. I said it again just now. I'm just mortified.
I didn't notice.
I didn't notice the first time I did. I'm so frustrated. Got me good. Oh, the trolls. I did preview for you that might happen, but I did. Yeah. So Sarah, okay, cool. No, and I think there's just like an interesting, like I think understanding how it all happened. I think pulling in maybe someone from the engineering team could be cool too. And yeah, I think we just could really have more conversations about how it's made, why the decisions are happening, et cetera. And also highlighting, the fun joys of working at Vonage too. So I don't know, to be developed further. So if y'all in the chat have feedback, of course, share.
I think it's cool for people who use the product maybe to see like literally how many people are involved in making this work. Like obviously you probably wouldn't want to have someone from legal or deal desk here, but they're all a key part of the process. It's not just, like a small team of developers pushing it out. There's so many teams that are involved in, making this work and making it stable.
That's a great, someone, Ozzy Rod, how about getting someone from customer solutions? Absolutely. I mean, why not, right? Like let's get customers on too. That could be interesting.
That's kind of that's what I was saying earlier. The customer solutions team have so much insight, but I don't know who they are. Like
you're looking to pull from them.
Well, yeah, because they speak to the customers and they talk about actual kind of product and technical problems. So they're like a fountain of knowledge, and I don't know how to.
Yeah. Okay. Wait. Look, Ozzy. I'm Oscar Rodriguez. What's up? Leading the customer solution engineering team. And did we just put everyone together? Yes, we did. Hi. Welcome to the chat. That's awesome. At Vonage at another team or another company.
Hopefully at Vonage.
I mean, right? Fingers crossed. Yes. Thank goodness. I'm like, cool. He's like, no, another. Amazing.
Yes,
so cool. Y'all will talk offline, I imagine, and pull some things together. Ozzy, let's get you on, and we'll chat more. I think that sounds like an awesome follow-up. Cool. All right then. Well, everyone, I hope you have a healthy and lovely rest of your Thursday, and let's see. No new Stream Who Dis episode for today. So we'll see y'all back on regular scheduled programming on Monday, I believe. But that's all for me, and I will see you, Lauren, on the interwebs later on. Thanks for joining. Bye, everyone.
All
Thanks for being here. Appreciate you. Bye.